And by not taking it on an expedited basis, sort of taking it under regular order here, they've already created a significant delay here that means that this election case, however they rule, can't go to trial probably before the fall. And now we come to exactly what they're considering here, which is the question of whether a president has absolute immunity. And then there's a second question here, which is whether anything that Donald Trump is accused of would actually constitute a presidential act implicated in the immunity question. Yeah.
Just making sure you're okay. Is everything okay? We hear someone yelling.
Yeah, it's fine. We have a heckler here outside the Supreme Court.
I've got to say, they obviously have been following the David Pecker testimony. They're yelling fake news, and they obviously want viewers to know that Donald Trump lied about JFK's assassination, tried to blame Ted Cruz. He's yelling fake news also because Donald Trump lied along with David Pecker. They worked together to lie about Ben Carson, to lie about Hillary Clinton. Fake news all around. So I want to thank him for actually
framing it
for us. We want to make sure you're okay, but also we want everybody watching to know that person screaming fake news, obviously talking about all the lies that Donald Trump perpetrated about Hillary Clinton and all of his opponents in 2020. Go ahead.
They're so livid. They're so angry. They're so upset. They are. That was Joe Scarboro, literally frothing at the mouth. Did you hear what he said? That Trump blamed Ted Cruz for Kennedy's assassination? He blamed Ted Cruz for his assassination. He actually accused Trump of lying about Hillary. Let that hit you. I mean, that's the straw grasping that he's been resigned to. He's lowered himself to. He's so livid. He's so livid about what happened yesterday that the only thing that comes out of those frothed lips is that Trump was lying about Hillary Clinton. You know, the woman who fabricated a fake Russian dossier against Trump that sent Scarborough's own network, MSNBC, into a 24/7 feeding frenzy for 3 years, costing taxpayers tens of millions of dollars, and it all turned out to be a total and complete fraud. They are so angry about what happened yesterday at the Supreme Court that ideological nuts like Scarborough can't even begin to think straight. And the beauty is he's not alone. We're going to see what the left-wing activists disguised as journalists are admitting this morning after that disastrous Supreme Court hearing yesterday. Let's just sum it up for you. I'll make it easy for you. It's over. Jack Smith has lost. On Thursday of this week, just yesterday, Ross Givens and I held a free training where thousands of you attended, but we ran out of room. It was crazy how many people registered, and it was just great to see all those who came. Ross is an insider trading expert whose recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500% because he actually uses the exact same techniques that Nancy Pelosi does, but perfectly ethically and legally. Now, because of the great success of that training yesterday, Ross has graciously decided to offer another free training tomorrow, Saturday, April 27th at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're not going to want to miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime free training to learn how you too can learn how to trade like Pelosi, but legally and ethically. So click on that link in the description to register today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. The left-wing activists disguised as journalists over at Politico are officially throwing in the towel on the Jack Smith trial happening ever coming to happen before November, which means, of course, that the other trials will be pushed past November as well. Here's how the piece starts. Quote, the already slim likelihood that Donald Trump will face a criminal trial brought by special counsel Jack Smith before the 2024 election appeared to dwindle further Thursday in the face of withering scrutiny from the Supreme Court's conservative majority. And you know what they wanted to put after that? They wanted to put, darn it, The chances of this happening before November are slim to none. Darn it. One by one, the court's 6 Republican-appointed judges, including 3 nominated by Trump himself, took whacks at Smith's effort to quickly and cleanly reject Trump's claim of immunity from criminal prosecution over his attempt to subvert the 2020 election. Stop. What is it with these woke activists disguised as journalists? Doesn't he mean Trump's alleged attempt to subvert the 2020 election? I had to read this twice. The Supremes took whacks at Smith's effort to quickly and cleanly reject Trump's claim of immunity from criminal prosecution over his attempt to subvert the 2020 election. Don't they mean alleged? His alleged attempt to subvert the 2020 election? This is so bizarre. I mean, it really is. I talked about this in last night's live stream. It is so surreal reading pieces by so-called legal experts, legal commentators, who deny Trump the fundamental foundation of our legal system, which is the presumption of innocence. Again, I'm literally gobsmacked, as you say across the pond. I'm gobsmacked that so-called legal experts presume Trump guilty before proven innocent. They've already tried and convicted him. There is more Mao than Matlock with them. How's that for an alliteration, right? But I digress. Continuing here with the piece. Instead, during more than 2.5 hours of oral argument, the justices forecast a result that could require lower courts to spend months analyzing various aspects of Trump's election plot. Where's that alleged? From organizing fraudulent slates of electors to leaning on his Justice Department to sow false doubts about the results. Alleged, right? This is the all too characteristic presumed guilt coming through. Left-wing activists disguised as objective journalists. That's why I call them that. The purpose of those additional lower court proceedings, several conservative justices suggested, would be to determine if some of the acts alleged, he finally said it, thank you, some of the acts alleged in the special counsel's indictment count as sufficiently official presidential duties that they ought to be shielded from criminal charges. Even if Smith were to win every single one of those battles, it would virtually ensure that a trial could not possibly happen until after the election. The trial in this case was initially scheduled to begin in March of this year, but the proceedings in the trial court have been frozen for months while Trump has pursued his claim that he enjoys absolute immunity from any charges touching on his official acts. Who the heck? It's Ralph. Dude, I mean, come on. It's an inside joke here, gang. Yeah, that's, by the way, what they just said there is that's not quite right. Again, we talked about this last night when analyzing the Supreme Court justices' concerns. Trump is emphatically not arguing that he can do whatever he wants. That's what presidential immunity means. He could run around literally like shooting and maiming and killing anybody he wants. And as long as he's president, he could just stand there and say, yeah, you can't touch me. That's not what anyone is arguing. This is not emphatically the Trump team's argument. Presidential immunity, the presidential immunity that Trump's team is arguing for, simply states that criminal prosecution of a former president must be predicated on impeachment and conviction. Impeachment in the House, conviction in the Senate. That is the constitutionally prescribed procedure for holding a president accountable for his actions while in office. If he is not being held accountable to your liking, then you need to mobilize and vote in a new Congress. Otherwise, if criminal prosecution is not based on congressional impeachment and conviction, then every single subsequent president from here on in will be swamped with indictments after he leaves office. The law will now be permanently weaponized against every single president like it is in a banana republic. Trump himself said it. If I don't got immunity, neither does Biden. So when I come in, look out, right? That's exactly what Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and Alito and Thomas and Roberts were so clearly concerned here. They kept pressing Jack Smith's representative. And again, this is something that Politico won't ever tell you. They're so embarrassed by how blatantly they got caught in their weaponized legalism. They won't even tell you this. Those justices kept pressing Jack Smith's representative, his lawyer. What on earth is your guarantee, your safeguard against the weaponization of the law against future presidents if it is not the constitutionally prescribed process and procedure of impeachment and conviction? And of course, Jack Smith's counsel had no coherent answer for that. You know what he actually said? In effect, well, because we've got the right lawyers. We've got the right lawyers. We've got the attorney. We got the right attorney generals. And of course, it's like, dude, did you just see what happened in Arizona? Now they're suing the lawyers. Oh, we got the right lawyers. Oh, you got the right lawyers. Oh, good. We'll hang them too. So this counsel had no coherent answer for that because there is none. Without the objective standard of prior congressional impeachment and conviction, post-presidential prosecution will be used as a weapon against every single subsequent president from here on in. Every president from now on will be sued multiple times. This is about maintaining the integrity of the executive office that it looks like the Democrats are hell-bent on destroying. Regardless, the wacko leftists over at Politico are clearly throwing the towel in here. Whatever the justices ultimately decide, they're admitting this. Whatever the Supreme Court justices ultimately decide, and that decision may not be given till June, the lower courts will be spending months resolving the issues and questions that the justices are going to put before them. And every single one of those decisions is appealable to the Supremes. Every one, because it bears directly with their ruling on this. So there is no way this is happening before November. And Politico's not alone in their despondency. The LA Times now is throwing in the towel. They're recognizing the Democrats' lawfare against Trump is kaput. It's over. Here's a highlight from their admission. Quote, it got worse for the prosecution, more or less out of nowhere. Justice Brett Kavanaugh suggested that one of the charges against Trump, I love that, more or less out of nowhere. Don't you love that? Who would ever think this way, right? Justice Brett Kavanaugh suggested that one of the charges against Trump, conspiracy to defraud the United States, actually relies on a statute that's so broad and vague that it could be misused by future prosecutors against future presidents. Justice Samuel Alito jumped in to second the suggestion, taking up the criticism of the prosecution that Trump's lawyers hadn't even raised. They didn't have to raise it. It's just, this is a can of worms you open up when you try to basically destroy the presidency. Since the court just heard arguments in a separate case that could invalidate 2 of the 4 charges against Trump, those under a federal obstruction statute, an opinion invalidating another charge could force Smith to soldier on with only one remaining charge against Trump, conspiracy against rights. That charge relies on the electorate's right to have votes counted, which is a somewhat indirect approach to accountability for Trump's pernicious post-election conduct. They are so freaking livid. I mean, the towel is just, dude, the towel's just being thrown in, gang. I mean, they're basically admitting defeat here. Just like Scarboro, they're frothing at the mouth. They're getting their last insults in. They're weeping and gnashing their teeth because their blatant and deliberate attempt at thwarting the democratic process through their pathetic lawfare has just been dealt its most severe blow.